بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. عن زيد بن خالد الجهني رضي الله عنه قال لأرمقن صلاة رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم الليلة فصلى ركعتين خفيفتين ثم صلى ركعتين طويلتين 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 ثم صلى ركعتين وما دون اللتين قبلهما 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 ثم أوتر فذلك 13 ركعة. رواه مسلم. قوله ثم صلى ركعتين وهما دون اللتين قبلهما أربع مرات هكذا في صحيح مسلم وأفراده من كتاب الحميدي ومؤتى إمام مالك وسنن أبي داود وجامع الأصول. Said bin Khalid al-Juhani says that I will gonna observe the Salah of Nabi Karim at night. So then he recited two light rakahs, short rakahs. Then he recited two very long rakahs. Then he recited two rakahs and they were less than the two before it. Then he recited two rakahs and they were less than the two before it. Then he recited two rakahs and they were less than the two before it. How many times have you got that? 3 times or 4 times? So see that ثم صلى ركعتين وما دون اللتين. How many وما دون اللتين you got? 3. Okay, ثم أوتر. Right? Then he made witr فذلك 13 ركعة. Then that is 13 rakats now. Right? So it's a 2. Then the 2 is 4, 6, 8, 10. You understand it? And then the 3 witr. Right. رواه مسلم. قوله ثم صلى ركعتين وهما دون اللتين قبلهما 4 مرات هكذا في right. And his statement then he cited 2 and they are less than the 2 before it was mentioned 4 times. Like this is in Sahih Muslim. And it's afrad from Kitab al-Humaydi and in the Mu'atta Imam Malik and Sunan Abu Dawud and in Jami al-Usul. Right. So if they're talking of this Humaydi's Kitab, right? The Humaydi's Kitab is Jama' Baina Sahihain. It's got Bukhari and Muslim's riwayats in, right? There are 3 types of riwayats there, right? One is Muttafaq Alay, that which is found both in Bukhari and Muslim. The second is Afrade Bukhari, that which is found only in Bukhari. And one is Afrade Muslim, that which is found only in Muslim. Right. So now they're saying, the last portion they were saying here, ثم صلى ركعتين ودون اللتين قبلهما. In Sahih Muslim, it's mentioned 4 times. You understand it? One is it's mentioned in Sahih Muslim. Then in Kitab al-Humaydi, which has got the riwayats of Muslim only, those riwayats of Muslim only is mentioned there. And then in Mu'atta Imam Malik, in Sunan Abu Dawud and Jami al-Usul, it's all mentioned 4 times. So he mentioned this here quite sternly, right? So that he can make rad on Sahib Masabih, because he only mentions it 3 times. And if you only mention that 3 times, then the total number of rakats come to 11. So he's trying to say here that this is actually 4 times is correct, because then he mentioned all the kitabs, it's 4 times it was found. And then if you take it 4 times, then it will be a total of, because first is the first 2 short ones, and then 4 times, that is 2 plus 4 is 4 times 2 is 8, is 10 plus the 3 witr. Right. When Aisha radiallahu anha called لما بدنا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم وثقل كان أكثر صلاته جالسا متفق عليه. And when Aisha radiallahu anha, she said when Nabi became heavy, right, and when his body became heavy and yeah, then most of his salah was recited sitting. You understand? Most of his salah is to recite sitting, and it's also towards his old age. When Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu قد عرفت النظائر التي كان النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يقرن بينهن فذكر 20 سورة من أول المفصل على تأليف ابن مسعود سورتين في ركعة آخرهن حاميم الدخان and وعما يتساءلون. Right. Then Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu, he says, I know the similar surahs which Nabi Karim used to join between them in one rakat. So he says, I know the similar surahs which Nabi Karim used to join between them, meaning in one rakat. Then he mentioned 20 surahs from the beginning of the Mufassalat on the compilation of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu. Two rakats in one, two surahs in one rakat. And he says the last of them is Hamim Dukhan and Amma Yatasaalun. Right. So what does hadith here is that these two surahs are similar in length and in shortness, right? So this is the two. So these are two surahs that he would join in one rakat because of them being similar. I think even similar in meaning also, right? And also starting from Mufassalat, which we know is from Surah Hujarat, and then right through the three Mufassalat, right through to Al-Qur'an Nas, right? So they got here in Abu Dawud, it's mentioned there quite clearly that the two surahs which Nabi Akram would join would be Surah Rahman and Surah Najm in one rakat. Then Iqtarabat As-Sa'atu and Al-Haqqa in one rakat. Then Surah Tur and Surah Zariyat in one rakat. Then Idha Waqa'atil Waqi'a and Surah Noon in one rakat. Then Sa'ala Sa'il and Wan Nazi'at in one rakat. Then Wailul Mutaffifin and Abasa in one rakat. Then Surah Muddathir and Muzammil in one rakat. Then Hal Ata Ala Al-Insan and La Uqsimu Bi Yawm Al-Qiyamah in one rakat. Then Amma Yatasalun and Mursalat in one rakat. And then Surah Al-Dukhan and Iza Shamsu Kuwirat in one rakat. Right. So the end portion here of this hadith, we find that he says here, Akhiruhunna Hamim ad-Dukhan and Amma Yatasalun. Moulana the Shareef says that that is not correct because we see in this compilation of the Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, he's got there Surah Al-Dukhan and Iza Shamsu Kuwirat in one rakat. So he said this, and they got the reason there, which I'm not going to go into. Right. Nevertheless, the way we read the Quran, right, in other words, from front to back, that's the tertib which we should be making our rakats and our recitation, right? To go against that tertib is makruh, right? And this is the, to go against that tertib is khilaf-e awla, right? And according to Imam Ahmad, it is makruh. So it's better to recite in the tertib, going from front to back, right? So now the question arises, if a person reads Surah An-Nas in the first rakat, then what must he recite in the second rakat? So Imam Banifa Rahmullah says he must recite Surah An-Nas again. Imam Shafi Rahmullah says no, he must recite from Alif Lam Mim Tal Ulaikumul Muflihun, right? And there's one riwayat of Imam Banifa also says the same. You got that now? When Huzaifah radiallahu anhu ra'a an-Nabiy sallallahu alaihi wasallam yusalli min al-layli fa kana yakunu Allahu Akbar thalathan ذو الملكوت والجبروت والكبرياء والعظمة ثم استفتح فقرأ البقرة ثم ركع فكان ركوعه نحو من قيامه وكان يقول في ركوعه سبحان ربي العظيم ثم رفع رأسه من الركوع فكان قيامه نحو من ركوعه يقول لربي الحمد ثم سجد فكان سجوده نحو من قيامه فكان يقول في سجوده سبحان ربي الأعلى ثم رفع رأسه من السجود وكان يقعد فيما بين السجدتين نحو من سجوده وكان يقول ربي اغفر لي ربي اغفر لي فصلى 4 ركعات قرأ فيهن البقرة وآل عمران والنساء سورة النساء right والمائدة أو الأنعام شك شعبة رواه أبو داود. Narrated from Huzaifah radiallahu anhu, he said he saw Nabi Akram reciting Salah, Tahajjud Salah. So you'd say Allahu Akbar thrice. Zul Malakut, right? The one who's in charge of everything. Wal Jabarut, the one who is power of everything. Wal Kibriya, the one is the greatest. And Azma also means the one is the highest. Then you would recite Sana, and then you would recite Surah Baqarah. Then you would make ruku. Then his ruku was similar to his standing. Then he would say in his ruku, Subhana Rabbi al-Azim, right? Yeah, Subhana Rabbi al-Azim, right? Then he would raise his head from ruku, then his standing was similar to his ruku. and he would say li Rabbi alhamd, right? That is in his standing now in coma. Then he would make sajda, then his sujood was similar to his standing. Then he would say in his sujood subhana rabbil ala, then he would raise his head from his sajda, and he would sit that which is between the two sajdas, uh, similar to his sajda. And he would say, Rabbi khfilli, oh Allah forgive me, oh Allah forgive me. Then he would recite, so he would recite 4 rakats, reciting in these 4 rakats, Surah Baqarah, Surah Al Imran, Surah An-Nisa, and Surah Al-Ma'idah, or Surah An'am. Shabbat outstaying. So his ruku was similar to his qiyam. And likewise, they got all that. You understand? So they say, not hakikatan, but rather that the since just as this qiyam was longer than the other qiyams of the day, right? His ruku would be longer than the rukus of the day. You understand it? And likewise, all the other postures now would be longer than the postures of the day. Or the one meaning could be that it was similar to qiyam as one to riwayats come. Right. Rabbi Ghfirli, he said it twice. It could mean that he said Rabbi Ghfirli twice. Or it also could mean he said it more than twice also. Right. That was in his jalsa now. Right. When you're sitting in jalsa and you say Rabbi Ghfirli or Hamni, you understand at least that amount you can say. من عبد الله بن عمرو بن العاص أنه قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم من قام بعشر آيات لم يكتب من الغافلين ومن قام بمئة آية كتب من القانتين ومن قام بألف آية كتب من المقنطرين. Narrated from Abdullah bin Amr bin As. And he says that Nabi Kareem says, whoever stands up and recites 10 ayats, then he will not be written amongst the unmindful ones. And whoever stands up with 100 ayats, then he will be written amongst those who are obedient. And whoever stands up with 1,000 ayats, then he will be written among those who have achieved a lot of reward. Right? So in how many rakats now must you read this now to get these rewards? You got 10, 100, 1,000. How many rakats? So they say you must finish that in at least 2 rakats, or if you're reading more than 2, up to the 4 rakats, right? Then you 2 or more than 2 rakats, you must finish that 10 or 100 or 1,000. The other question is that these ayats here now, 110 or 1,000, does it include the Surah Fatiha or does it exclude? Some say it includes, some say it excludes Surah Fatiha. You understand it? Right. Uh, then when is this here now? You understand it? When is this reward promised for which salah? So they say, most of them say it's a tahajjud salatul layl, tahajjud salah, right? When Abi Hurairah radiallahu anhu qala, كانت قراءة النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم بالليل يرفع طورا ويخفض طورا رواه أبو داود. Then Abu Hurairah said Nabi Akram's qiraat at night was sometimes in a high voice and sometimes in a low voice. Ulama write that when Nabi Karim is alone and there was no people sleeping, then he would read in a louder voice. And if there were people sleeping around him, then he would lower his voice. من ابن عباس رضي الله عنه قال كانت قراءة النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم على قدر ما يسمعه من في الحجرة وهو في البيت رواه أبو داود. And from Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu said Nabi Karim's qiraat was on the amount of those of that which those who were in the courtyard will hear him whilst he was in the house. So those in the courtyard could hear him. That's how loud he used to recite, which means not very loud and not very soft. Okay. Okay, leave it mentally.